Hi everybody, welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to be doing the normal distribution problem set, and we're going to be doing question number 2. So number 2 says, in a math class, 140 students took an exam. The scores are normally distributed with a mean of 73 and a standard deviation of 7. So I need the normal distribution from Desmos. I'm going to go on over to Desmos, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the keypad at the bottom. Over here on the right side, you'll see the word functions. Go ahead and click that. And then we're going to click on normal distribution under the distribution menu. Go ahead and hide my keypad right there. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my mean and my standard deviation. So going back to the problem, it said that my mean was 73. So I'm going to let the mean be 73. And then I'm going to put down a comma. And then it tells me that my standard deviation is 7. So I'm going to let the standard deviation be 7. And then I'm going to close up the parentheses. Now I can't really see the curve that well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the magnifying glass at the bottom, and that's going to zoom in on the curve. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click the box that says CDF, find cumulative probability. So when I click that, the entire area under the curve is going to light up in whichever color you chose. Right here, I have a minimum and a maximum, and we're going to get going to the first question. So the first question says, what percentage of students scored between 67 and 77? That means that my minimum is going to be 67 and my maximum is going to be 77. And then it gives me the decimal, 0.52046. Now that 6 is going to tell that 4 to go up to 5. So my answer is going to be 52.05%. If I move that decimal point to the right twice, I can turn that decimal that it gives me into a percentage. Okay, the next question says, what percentage of students scored less than 63? Less than 63. That means that 63 is going to be my maximum limit, and I'm not going to have a minimum limit, so I'm going to get rid of the minimum. And when I do that, it automatically becomes a negative infinity. So now you can see how much below the area is shaded, but my decimal is going to be 0.07656. And that 6 is going to tell that 5 to become a 6. So my answer is going to be 7.66%. Okay, the next question says, what percentage of students scored greater than an 80? So greater than an 80 means that 80 has to be the minimum. So I go over here, I let the minimum be 80, and since it's greater than 80, I'm not going to have a maximum limit. So I'm going to get rid of that. And once you do that, the maximum limit automatically becomes positive infinity, and then your decimal is going to be at the bottom, 0.1586. But that 5 is going to tell that 6 to go up by 1 to 7. So my answer is going to be 15.87%. Fairly simple. Okay, now the next 3 questions require you to multiply at the very end because it's asking for how many values. It asks how many students scored between 70 and 78. So to find how many students scored between 70 and 78, I'm going to let my minimum be 70, and I'm going to let my maximum be 78. And when I do that, I get the decimal 0.4284 if I round that 3 up. So that's going to be 0.4284. I type that into the box below. And then I'm going to multiply by 140 inside parentheses, because that's how many students I have from the question. Remember, it told me 140 students. So now I'm going to multiply by 140 to get 59.97. And I can round that up to a 60 for my answer. Okay, the next question says, how many students scored higher than a 90? Well, higher than a 90 means that 90 is going to be my minimum limit. So I'm going to go to my normal distribution, let my minimum be 90, and I'm going to get rid of my maximum. And it gives me the decimal 0.0075. And that 7 is going to tell that 5 to go up to a 6. So it's really 0.0076. I'm going to multiply by 140 to get 1.064, which I can round down to the nearest whole number, which is 1. So one student scores higher than a 90. Imagine that. Okay, so then the next question says, how many students score lower than a 71? Lower than a 71 means that 71 is my upper limit, my maximum. So I'm going to let my maximum be 71. And then my minimum is going to be a negative infinity because I'm going to get rid of my minimum limit. And then the decimal that I get is 0.3875 because that 4 is going to tell that 5 to stay put. Next, I multiply by 140 to get 54.25. I can round that down to the nearest whole number, which is 54. Okay, so now going back to the questions, it says find the z-score for x equals 73. So in the box below that, I'm going to type 73 inside parentheses, and I'm going to subtract the average, which also happens to be a 73 up here. And then at the very end, I need to divide all that by the standard deviation, which is 7. And I get the answer 0. So that's going to be my z-score.